morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. Oh, this doesn't want to stay.
Might want to just hold it.
Just one more. Okay. All right, so thank you for that introduction. My name is Joni, and my business is actually called Healthy Body, Peaceful Soul, and that's also the topic that I wanted to speak to you about today. I think it's such an important concept, and I'm so excited and thankful to be here on a day that your theme is God Speaks, Do We Listen? Because I think that that's so important for us to consider, are we listening? And if we're not listening, what's holding us back from listening? And I think all the work that I do, working with people, I work with people in corporations, I work with stressed out executives, I work with cancer patients, I work with families, I work with kids in the school, and I think so much of what holds us all back is stress and worry. And who here has worries? Do you worry? Have some worry that the worst is going to happen, right? We worry about everything, from day to day. We have these worries. And when we're worried and when we're stuck in that story in our head of worry, I don't think we're really opening ourselves to listen to what God says, to listen to our own inner instincts. So my thought today and what I want to share with you is, how can you practice having a healthier body, a healthier state of mental and emotional well-being? Because if we can find that balance and peace in our bodies, in our minds, in our emotions, then suddenly we're really a vessel, and we can really hear, and we can really listen. Does that resonate with you? I'm sure everyone in this room has had times where they feel that sense of inner peace and calm, when there's no worries present. And in those moments, you really feel like, I feel His presence. I feel like peace, that inner knowing and that inner peace. But it's easy to let life cloud that. And that's what it is, circumstances that arise, these things that we worry about in life, they're really clouding that sense of inner peace and well-being. So one thing that I want to talk about today is the importance of self-care. And so I like to ask questions whenever I'm giving a talk. I don't like to just be the one who's talking. So can somebody tell me, what does self-care mean to you? How do you practice self-care? Somebody just kind of shout out a response.
Eating properly.
Eating properly, absolutely. So taking care of this body that we've been given, the home of our soul, taking care of it and honoring it by eating as healthy as we possibly can. And so one of the pieces of my work is teaching people about nutrition and teaching people to eat healthy. And contrary to what a lot of people think, I'm not an advocate for, I never have told anyone, you have to never eat a cookie again. I think everything is in balance. If we can eat as healthy as we possibly can, that means eating vegetables, eating fruit, eating lean sources of protein, drinking a lot of water. Most of us are dehydrated, and that really can affect the body. But if we're taking care of ourselves and eating healthy as much as we possibly can, it's okay to have some cookies. It's okay to have, a cinnamon roll in the morning occasionally. It's okay to have a piece of cake, as long as the majority of the time you're eating really healthy. So yes, eating healthy, that is a great way to take care of yourself. And that impacts everything. If you eat healthy most of the time, I always say 80% of the time if you eat healthy, that's what impacts your health and well-being the most. 20% of the time, that's when you have, your cookie, or you have, whatever that treat is for you. So yes, taking care of your body by eating healthy. What's another thing that someone said about self-care? Exercise. Exercise is such a wonderful way to take care of yourself. And exercise doesn't have to be complicated. just like taking a walk. And we're moving into hopefully a season where it's pleasant to really take a walk outside. It looks like it is such a beautiful morning out there right now. Just getting outside and walking. Walking has been shown to be one of the best exercises in terms of for your overall health and well-being. And you know, if we're blessed to be able to walk, like why not use that God-given gift that we can keep walking, we can keep moving our bodies. So moving the body is such an important piece of having a healthy body. So yes, exercise. What else is self-care? What else?
Adequate rest.
Adequate rest. Oh my goodness, I'm so glad you said that. So many of us don't get enough sleep. And I like how you said adequate rest, because rest is sometimes different than sleep. We can sometimes sleep, but then as soon as we wake up, there's the to-do list in our head, or there's all of our worries that are present. And you know, whatever it is that you worry about, it's all right there in your head the moment you open your eyes. And so that's not a restful state, or that takes away from the rest that you might have gotten while you were sleeping. So what can you do to get adequate rest? I think that's the real question. Rest is such an important part of self-care. And so making time, making sure that you're trying to get enough sleep at night, which that varies for everyone. I would say between 7 and 10 hours of sleep a day, depending. You know, you might be someone who can maybe deal with closer to 6 hours of sleep and feel good. Maybe you need closer to 10 hours to feel good. It's different for everyone, but kind of figuring that out is really important. But what can we do to find a real place of rest, especially if we are plagued with worry and there's anxiety present in our mind and in our heart a lot? So I want to teach you a couple of techniques today that I think are really simple and really powerful, that can really help you find a place of inner rest and a place of inner peace, that then you can connect more deeply with yourself and with the divine. So actually, let's do this exercise right now. So if I could have everyone sit with both feet flat on the floor, and if it's comfortable for you to do so, rest your hands in your lap. So palms down on your legs. And if it's also comfortable and possible for you to lean back in your chair. And depending on your height, you might not be able to have your feet on the floor and lean back in your chair. So just kind of do what you can to be comfortable. So I want you to be as comfortable as possible right now. And let's take a deep inhale. And when you exhale, I want you to sigh. So like this. Okay, we're going to do that 3 times. And if you want to, so I was just speaking to someone earlier, and we were talking about having stress and tension in your neck and shoulders. And I think most of us hold stress and tension in our neck and shoulders, so there's something that you can do. Here, I'm going to put the microphone down for just a moment so I can show you. Wheel myself right off the stage here. So you can go like this. You can inhale and squeeze your shoulders up. And then exhale, and let them go. All right, so if you want to, you can add that shoulder movement in there. If it's not comfortable for you to do that, though, skip the shoulder movement, but still do the breath. We'll do it 3 times together now. So deep inhale, exhale, and then just pause for a moment. And let's do it again. All right, one more time. All right, so it's funny, just looking out at everyone's faces, I feel like all of a sudden there's more smiles, like, and it's just a softness to your faces out there looking out at you. And actually, that wasn't even the breathing technique. That was just to prepare for the breathing technique. So that's something simple that we can do. You know, in the middle of the day, if you start to feel stressed, you know, bring your shoulders up to your ears, and then exhale with a sigh, and let that go. It's really simple, but it can be really effective to help us relax our bodies and come more into our bodies and find that state of peacefulness inside. So here's the breathing technique. We're going to be taking really full, deep breaths. I want you to fill your lungs as full as you possibly can. Now, most of the time when we're breathing, we're not breathing to our maximum capacity. We're breathing more shallowly. And that's just how our bodies breathe. So it's okay that however you're breathing right now is okay. But when we take a really full, deep breath, what happens in the body and what happens in your nervous system is you bring your nervous system into a state of calm. When we're feeling stressed, when we're having feelings of worry or anxiety, our nervous system goes into what's called fight or flight. It's called the sympathetic nervous system, fight or flight. And that fight or flight response, it's really meant for if we are encountering a life or death emergency. I always say it's like if you're taking a walk in the woods and you would encounter a bear. Well, we need our nervous system to wake us up. We need adrenaline to course through the body. We need to get tense and tight so that we can spring into action. It's called the fight or flight system. So we could either fight the bear, I'm not sure why I would want to do that, but that's what that's there for. Or we can run away from the bear. And that's just, kind of a silly example, but that's what that response is that we have in our nervous system. It's for emergencies. Thankfully, most of us are not in life or death situations every day. I hope that you're not in a life or death situation every day. But our bodies, our nervous systems, our minds end up convincing ourselves, they convince us that all the worries, the little worries that we have in our head are life or death, even if they're not. It feels like they are sometimes, right? That's how it feels. So by taking really full, deep breaths, it is like a wake-up call for your nervous system. It is a way to tell your nervous system, hey, everything's okay. Everything's okay, you're safe. And it's really effective. It's really effective, and so I hope that you'll see that as we practice it. So when you take a deep breath, I want you to feel like your rib cage is going to expand really big. I also want you to feel like your belly is relaxed and your belly is going to expand. This is something that whenever I'm talking to a group of women, I always have women look at me like, you want me to relax my belly? Like I'm supposed to be holding my belly in all the time. Isn't that what our culture teaches us? We're supposed to be all, and holding everything in. And that's actually detrimental to our nervous system because we hold stress in our bellies. So right now as we practice deep breathing, I want you to relax your belly. Just let it all be soft. It's okay to have a soft belly. So I want you to have a soft belly as you breathe. Okay, so let's just take a couple of deep breaths just like that. We're just doing this breathing technique in stages. So first I just want you to take a deep breath and feel like your belly is relaxing and expanding as you inhale, as well as your rib cage. Okay, so and then exhale slowly. Good, one more like that. Good, so the other thing is, if it's at all possible and comfortable for you, I want you to inhale with your nose, and then you can exhale either through your nose or through your mouth. Sometimes it's easier to exhale through the mouth, but I want you to try and inhale through your nose because your nose acts as a natural filter. And if you're inhaling through your mouth, your throat's going to get dried out. So we want to just exhale through the mouth and inhale through the nose, okay? Now the other piece to this breathing practice that we're going to do, it's called the 4-8 breath, because we're going to count to 4 and fill the lungs as full as they can be in that count of 4. And then you're going to exhale slowly to a count of 8. So that slow exhale, that's what signals to your nervous system, it's okay, I'm safe, everything's okay. And it'll cause this feeling of peace and relaxation in the body and in the mind, okay? Now, if you've never done deep breathing exercises before, this might feel a little challenging. So I'm going to lead you in the first couple of breaths, and I'm going to use the numbers 4 and 8. I'm only going to lead you in the first, let's say, 3 breaths, and then I'm going to be quiet, and I'm going to tell you to count on your own. If my count felt too slow for you, in your head you're going to count faster when you do it on your own, or you're going to change the numbers. So those numbers 4 and 8, they're just arbitrary numbers. You could inhale to 2 and exhale to 4. It's basically whatever your deep inhale is, you're going to double that number and try and exhale to that. So it's a 1 to 2 ratio. So again, you could inhale to 2, exhale to 4, inhale to 3, exhale to 6. I'm going to use 4 and 8. That's kind of just the standard numbers that we start with, and then you can switch from there. You might have a really deep breath, and you might be able to inhale to 5 and exhale to 10. So just know that those numbers are adaptable. I want you to make it feel comfortable for yourself. Comfortable, but we're really trying to take deep breaths, so it's going to feel like you're stretching your rib cage when you breathe, okay? All right, so here we go. So both feet flat on the floor, hands in your lap. You are welcome to keep your eyes open, or you're welcome to close your eyes. I like to close my eyes because it helps me to focus more on my breathing, but again, you're welcome to do what makes you feel comfortable. We'll start by exhaling completely. So empty your lungs, empty your tank. Exhale, exhale, exhale. Now deepest inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Again, inhale, 2, 3, 4. Exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Continue this a few more times on your own. I'm going to have you do this for 1 minute on your own. So in your head, count. Inhaling to 4, exhaling to 8, or switching those numbers if you need to. And if your mind wanders and if you stop the deep breathing, that's okay. That happens sometimes. Just bring it back. Take another deep inhale. Count to 4 as you inhale. And count to 8 as you exhale. Matching your breath to those numbers. And so the next time you exhale, I want you to let go of the deep breathing, let go of the counting, but still sit with your eyes closed or your gaze downward. Just sit in stillness for a few more moments and see if you can just notice your natural breath. Notice this natural breath that you are gifted, that is flowing through your body. And just see if you can feel that flow of breath, maybe noticing the sensations at the nose, maybe noticing the movement of your chest or rib cage. And then when you're ready, you can bring this to a close. You can open your eyes or look up if you were looking down. So how did that feel? How do you feel after that? What's your experience like? Relaxed. Do you feel relaxed? Do things feel a little bit more quiet inside?
It feels like 40-some years ago, Lamaze.
It feels like 40-some years ago, Lamaze. Well, the interesting thing, that's such an interesting thing that you say that, the cleansing breath. And it's such an interesting thing because, we teach women breathing exercises when they're going through labor, because labor is a very painful, a physically painful experience. And they've learned over decades that the breath helps you manage pain. And it's always been my question, why don't we teach other people breathing exercises? If you know it manages pain for labor, why aren't we teaching people who have chronic pain how to breathe deeply so that they can help manage their chronic pain. When I work with cancer patients, a lot of the symptoms that they experience, side effects from chemotherapy, they have chronic pain of different kinds in the body. And sometimes if I just get them to practice breathing exercises, suddenly their experience of the pain is still there, but suddenly their experience of the pain goes from being like this to being like this. And it's much easier to deal with pain that's this big as opposed to pain that feels this big. Our breath is such a powerful tool that we have. It's such a powerful tool because if you think about it, our bodies can breathe all on their own, right? I mean, we don't have to think about breathing. You know, our body takes care of breathing. But our body also, the breath is such a unique system that we can take charge of our breath. Like we just took charge of our breath. We changed our breath. We deepened our breath quite a bit as we practiced that. So the breath is both automatic and it's something that we have control over. And if you think about it, the breath is really closely linked to our mental and emotional state. So if you think about how your breath would be, let's say we heard a loud noise right now. When you're startled, what do we do with our breath when we're startled? Right? You sharply inhale when you're startled. If someone gives you disappointing news, what does our breath do? Right? When we're feeling stressed, sometimes we breathe very shallowly. You might get a pain in your chest because you're breathing so shallowly. And if you've experienced, which I'm sure all of us have experienced, grief and sorrow and sadness, what is our breath like when we're experiencing that? We can't catch our breath, right? So our breath is tied to how we feel. Our breath is tied to our mental and emotional state. And our breath is this system in the body that we have control over. If we want, if we choose, we can change our breath. So it stands to reason that if we are experiencing overwhelm, if we are overwhelmed by worry, overwhelmed by anxiety, if we feel like we can't listen, because there's so much noise in our minds, if we can just change the way that we breathe, we have the power to clear some of that out. We have the power. I use the metaphor, it's like, I'm sure everyone in this room has experienced times of feeling so mentally and emotionally overwhelmed that you feel like you're standing in the rapids, getting smacked in the face with waves, almost so that you feel like you're drowning, right? We've all experienced that feeling of almost feeling like you're drowning in emotion. Emotion is important. It's important for us to feel, but we don't want to drown in it. And what these breathing practices can help us do, deepening the breath, it's like as if we could climb out of the rapids and stand on the riverbank. And then on the riverbank, we can honor how we feel. We can say, wow, I feel really sad. But we don't feel like we're drowning in it. Does that make sense? So we can still honor how we feel without drowning in it. And when we stand on the riverbank, we also can be in more of a peaceful place so that we can listen and we can be guided so that we feel safe and secure and we know what's next. We know what's coming next. We can deepen our faith. We can deepen our understanding and acceptance of what's present in our lives. The breath is such a powerful tool that can help us do that. Anyone else have an experience doing that breathing practice? Did it make anyone tired? Yeah? So that's a really common experience. And so I want to share kind of what's going on in your nervous system, why you feel tired when you first start practicing deep breathing techniques. It's because, again, our modern day culture, our modern day society, many of us have two settings. We have breakneck speed and dead, tired, exhausted. Right? Does that sound familiar? Breakneck speed, whether that breakneck speed is just in your mind with worry, and dead, tired, exhausted. So when you practice mindfulness, when you practice deep breathing techniques. It's trying to get us to function, instead of functioning on these extremes, breakneck speed, dead tired, exhausted, it's trying to get us to experience life more in the middle, so that we're focused but calm and relaxed. And when we're focused but calm and relaxed, we're more open, we're more peaceful, we feel like we can listen and really be present more. But on this journey of learning how to get from these outer edges into the middle, it's like our nervous system experiences this pendulum that swings from breakneck speed to dead tired, exhausted, and it's swinging back and forth. And so when we start to practice mindfulness and deep breathing, we're trying to get to this middle place, but when the pendulum starts to swing in that direction, the nervous system says, oh, we must be headed toward dead, tired, exhausted. I'll just take us there all the way. And so it swings all the way there, and that's when we feel exhausted after just taking some deep breaths. If you practice deep breathing regularly, you won't always feel tired. If anything, it will give you some energy over time, because what it helps to condition us to do is, instead of experiencing life on those extremes, is we can be focused and clear in our minds and calm and relaxed in our emotions and in our body. So that sounds nice, doesn't it? It's a nice place to try and work toward. Yeah?
I just wanted to say, I work with toddlers, and they could go from one extreme to the other extreme in a couple of minutes.
Yes.
And we teach them deep breathing, and we have 2-year-olds that they'll stop and they'll listen, take 3 breaths, and then they're ready to listen to you.
Yes.
So it's very nice. It does work.
It does work. It is something that our children, I think, are craving, because they are growing up in kind of this world that has so many distractions and so much craziness, that they are longing for some way to learn how to self-regulate and emotionally regulate. So toddlers, definitely, they're capable of learning how to breathe deeply. I know when I've worked with toddlers, when my boys were, I have 2 teenage boys, but when they were little, I taught groups of kids their age. And we would call it the balloon breath. Expand the balloon in your belly as you inhale, and then deflate the balloon in your belly as you exhale. And young kids can really get that, and it's impactful. One of the other places where I do work is in the schools. I implemented a program that I developed called Plugged Into Mindfulness at North Allegheny School District, which is where my boys go to school. And it is teaching, I did a training with the teachers, teaching them how to do simple things, like get the kids to take deep breaths before they take a test, because there's so much anxiety around that. Or getting them to say a positive phrase in their head, because again, so many kids have such anxiety these days. All of us have anxiety these days. Another part of mindfulness, and what I help people do, is start to change what can be a negative voice in our heads. We've all heard this negative voice that tells us, what our fears are, that tells us we're not good enough, or that we make mistakes, or that relives those scenarios when maybe we have made mistakes. And it's such a powerful thing to be able to tell yourself something positive, like, I can do this. I am good enough. I can do this. I can listen. I can be present. I can calm myself. To be able to say that to yourself as a reinforcing phrase, and just to repeat it like an affirmation. And it's a way of connecting with yourself on a deep level, and having faith that you can do whatever it is that you're attempting to do. So we talked about self-care and eating healthy and drinking enough water. That's one way in which you can take care of yourself. And we mentioned exercise. Moving your body is so important. Actually, let's just move the body just a little bit right now. So people might have different ranges of motion. Let me give you some options of what I'm going to have you do. I'm going to have you do this with a deep breath. You're going to either inhale and sweep your arms all the way up and overhead, and then exhale, bring your arms back down. Or if you can't lift your arms all the way overhead, it's okay to just reach them out to the sides or to just lift them in front of you. So you're basically just going to elevate your arms as you take a deep inhale. So, and then exhale and slowly lower. Let's do that 3 more times. Inhale. Exhale. Again. One last time.